Hey ladies and gentlemen, it's Forrest Howie McDonald, and I'm here to give you another story from my video book. I started playing the guitar professionally 1964 on New Year's Eve, and I accumulated hundreds of stories over the last 56 years. Tonight I'll be talking about my experiences with the Allman Brothers Band. So strap in, sit down, let me put my guitar down, and I'll be right with you. Okay, that's a little better. Now, the story of the Allman Brothers Band. I had been a huge Allman Brothers fan since their first album came out. In fact, I didn't go anywhere without two records, Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland and the Allman Brothers' Idlewild South. So when they came to the Boston Tea Party, December 4th and 5th, I knew I had to go see them. But how was I going to get backstage and talk to them and meet Duane and Dickie and Greg? So I concocted a scheme. My hair was very long, about the same length as Duane's. I had a 1955 Stratocaster with a maple neck that I thought Duane might be interested in looking at. But I still had to get up the back entrance and into the dressing room. So I wore a real long coat. My hair was very long. I had the big mutton chop sideburns and everything. And I walked right up to the dressing room door, well, to the outside door. And the security guard said, "Can I help you?" I said, "Yes, I'm Duane Allman. Where's the dressing room?" And he said, "Oh, right up here, Duane. Let me show you." And I had been out in the parking lot waiting to see if the band had pulled in yet. So I came early just to pull this off. So I'm in the dressing room, and maybe 3, 4, 5 minutes later, in walks the band. So right away, I went up to Duane and I explained, "Look, I'm Forrest Howie McDonald, and I'm a big fan of yours. I brought you this beautiful Stratocaster, 1955 with a maple neck. Maybe you'd like to try it out." He said, "Okay." He said, and I said, "And to get in here, I pretended to be you." And he thought that was hysterical. And he ran over to Dickie and he said, "Dickie, listen to this story of how this guy got in." And it turned out Richard Forrest Betts and Duane Howard Allman, both their middle names were my first two names, first and second name. So Duane's playing the guitar and he said, "Yeah, it's pretty good, you know, but I just picked up this really nice Les Paul. I traded a guy in Michigan a Marshall Stack for it. So I'm going to play it, but enjoy the show." So I met all the guys, Red Dog, the road manager and such, and we went down to the stage and I hung out with Red Dog over to the side. It was a fabulous show, great set. And at the end of the night, they said, "Come on back to the hotel and we'll jam a little bit." So it was in Brookline. I forget the name, the summer. Anyway, went back to their hotel room, and it was maybe 3 rooms for all of the band and all of the road managers. So mattresses were spread out, couches were tipped over, everything. But Greg pulled out an acoustic guitar and started playing and singing. And then Duane joined in a little bit on his acoustic with some slide. And this went on until daybreak. And just before the sun came up, I got out of there. But I asked them to put me on the guest list plus a friend for the next night. And they said, sure. So I called my girlfriend at the time. Her name was Chris Hayward. And she was a really good guitar player, probably as good as I was at the time. She was a cute little blonde, very attractive, very personable. And we went in on the guest list, went backstage, And this time I brought my Gibson Firebird because I had told Dwayne about it. And he said, you bring the Firebird tomorrow night. So he picked it up and he played it a little bit. And he said, man, it's got a great feel to it. He said, I still think I'll play the Les Paul, but I'll have Red Dog bring it down to the stage just in case anything happens. Then Chris put the guitar on and she played a couple of blues licks. And Dwayne went, whoa, Dickie, look at this. We got your replacement right here. This girl's going to replace you. And they all had a big laugh over it. But then the drug man came, the blow man came. And Greg whipped out a lot of cash and they dumped the shitload out. And Dwayne snorted up a gram. He was ready to go. So they walked down to the stage and I was sitting there on the side, and then I said, I'm going to go out to the front and watch this. So they were playing and jamming along, and it just came up to the whipping post solo. And right then, Dwayne broke a string. And he yells across the stage, Red Dog, throw me the Firebird. And I'm out in the front. I've got a lot of friends that were watching the band, and they all knew it was my Firebird. And you see Red Dog over in the side, and it flies over through the air, bam! Dwayne caught it, plugged it in, and jumped in right in time to hit the first note of the whipping post solo. It was absolutely thrilling. So they finished the night. It was really spectacular. We hung out a little bit more, had a couple of beers, and I thanked them for the experience and left. So later, the next year, since that was December 4th and 5th, they were coming back to play Lowell, Massachusetts, an armory there or something. And we had gotten backstage pass. And I recall seeing Dwayne and J-Mo walking through, talking to some Hells Angels. They were really in a bad mood, you could tell. And I learned later from reading Greg's big fat book that they were both strung out on heroin at the time and really in a bad way, and were hoping the Hells Angels would come up with something for them, but they didn't. Well, Dickie was down in Miami and he missed the plane to come up. So they played the first set without him. And I was kind of talking to them and hinting around like, maybe you guys should let me sit in and do the set with you. And just then, Dickie walked in. So they went out and they played the second show with the full band. It didn't have the quite same magic as the first shows the previous year I saw, but it was great to see them and hang out with them. And then maybe 3 weeks later, tragically, I heard of Dwayne's death in the motorcycle accident. And I thought, wow, just 3 weeks ago I saw them all on stage. What a shame. And then when Eat a Peach came out, I went to the Boston Music Hall to see them. And Dickie had learned all of Dwayne's slide parts at that time. And people, because they heard Ramblin' Man and whatnot, a lot of them had no idea of the history of the band. And I could hear a couple of people talking and nearby and say, hey, who's playing slide? What? At any rate, one heck of a band, one of my favorite all-time American bands. And that's the story. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'll be seeing you on the next episode. And keep love in your heart See you next time.